question. How many of you guys have kids? All right. How many of you are married? How many of you guys consider yourself pretty busy?
How many of you are married and your spouse acts like a kid? Wait, more of you are married than now? Okay, anyway, I had a feeling that was going to go that way.
And how many of you took time out of your crazy lives to be here with us today? That's awesome. That's awesome. How many of you would consider your lives just a little bit maybe chaotic? Or if you're like Mike and I, you consider yourselves, your life's chaotic all the time. Well, chaos is not a bad thing, guys. In fact, in order to have the type of success we want to have here at It Works Global, chaos is a big part of it, and you're going to have it. The key is learning how to control it. So, just think about this for a minute. What does commitment mean to you? Just think about that. What does commitment mean to you? I think commitment's a great way to start in controlling the chaos. So for us, commitment in both our business and our marriage always started with the why, our reasons, our targets. And we would start with that, and then we would just do it until we got there. And a lot of times, I know I was asked, and I think Mike was asked as well, people would say, how long are you going to keep doing that? How long are you going to do that until? Yeah, but you've been doing that forever. We're going to do it until we hit it. And that was always the way we looked at things.
Have you guys ever had a situation where somebody's asked you, why don't you quit that thing, or why haven't you quit? Have any of you ever thought about quitting? Anybody, honestly? I mean, we hear the stories all the time, and what we really think about, we know our lives are chaotic. I mean, there's chaos that happens up here that you guys don't even know about. The screen guys are telling me, Mike, you sexy beast, that you'll never see that. And they're trying to throw me off because they know we mess with each other a little bit. Things get chaotic, and it's fun. And I'm going to get you guys for that, just so you know, whoever did that. But what's cool about it is that chaos is okay. A little chaos is okay. And as we go through this business, what we got to understand is how to control that, and it starts with why. Because I can tell you, if you're willing to start something, you need to be willing to finish something. Because if it's not important enough to finish it, don't even start it. Don't waste your time. Have those whys and do it until. I love that. Every time Mark and I have conversations, and I go, Mark, what do you want out of life? He doesn't tell me a dollar figure or this or that. He just says more. Right? It's more. And when you think about your goals and your dreams and your desires, it's until. Because if they were important enough, and typically it's important enough because it's your family. We've got a little girl, a lot of you all have kids, you already have talked about that. You've started this business because you have a reason and a why. If it's important enough to start it, and it's important enough to be here, to get out of that chaos a little bit, to learn a little bit more, to be a little inspired, to go out and internally motivate yourself, it's important enough for you to finish it and go until.
Yeah, and when Mike and I got married, we were just we were kids. We were college dropouts, and I really feel like people counted us out. They were like, they're not going to make it. But what they didn't know is that he and I were committed to each other, and we were also very committed to our big goals. Mike and I, which is something you guys probably don't know, we met through network marketing, the direct sales industry. And I was working our business. He was working our business. I was making phone calls day in, day out. Mike was making phone calls day in, day out. I was doing meetings. I was doing parties. He was doing meetings. He was doing parties. And in our 20s, we actually built $1 million business. Now, let me just say what we didn't do. I didn't have problems with him being in the front of the room, or we didn't talk about and we didn't care who was in the back of the room or who had the best title out of the two of us. It didn't matter because we were focused as a partnership. We were committed to each other, and we were committed to the goals we had set, and we were committed as a team.
And what's cool about that is that when you're committed to something, now we're not talking just to the people who are married today. We're talking about any relationships that you have, being committed to your team, being committed to your families. What's interesting is when you peel back the layers of commitment, it's real simple. It's not a complicated word. You do something until you commit to it. And what I love about this business is that we we all are still normal people. You may have the ability to build an extraordinary life because of It Works Global, but don't think that you lose track of what the real world looks like. And I think about us. Last night, we have a couple thousand people in here, and I got to tell you, how many of you would love to be up on this stage one day? It feels good. I mean, I enjoy getting on stage. I really like it. And when you get up here, you get excited. You get motivated. You're moving around, man. You're like, man, these people are looking at me on stage, and it feels good. But it doesn't matter whether you're on stage or when I got home last night, I had to take the 2 babysitters home. Right? Don't get caught up in what you're doing, and we pull up to a stoplight, and I've got these 2 little teens or tweens or whatever they call them now in the back seat, and next thing I know, a van full of It Works people pulls up, and they're like, hey, great night, and it's like, they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, taking the babysitters home.
We all have our roles.
We all have roles, but it's not for any of us. It's not for Tiff to say, Mike, that's your role, or for me to say, Tiff, that's your role. And you got to remember, let me risk making some of you angry right now. Ladies, quit talking about your husband's job, wiping babies' butts and doing the dishes and doing the laundry. They don't want to hear that. All right? And men, don't tell your ladies to go out there and make me some money.
That's right.
All right? You've got to be committed to your relationship. Because here's what's cool about commitment. Before we even worked together, we were committed to it. Before we not worked together, before we were married, we were committed to it. Tiffany and I, it was interesting how we met in network marketing. Because she was in the business, her dad was in the business. I was making $8 an hour answering the phones for a network marketing company trying to build a business. And then over time, I became successful, she became successful, we started dating, and then we became successful together. And there was this moment where I knew I wanted to ask Tiffany to marry me. But I'm a little old-fashioned, and I wanted to ask her father's permission. Now, her dad is one of the top earners in this company that I'm in. I've worked my way up to be one of the top earners as well. And we've been dating a long time. And now you got to understand, Tiff's dad was in the Navy. Any military veterans, any guys out in the audience, gals? Anybody served? Let's give them a hand, first of all. Now, let me set the stage for you. Her dad, Navy guy. If you go to Washington, D.C., and you go to the marina right there, kind of out past the Capitol, you'll see the old presidential yacht. It's this beautiful old wooden yacht, and it's awesome. And he was stationed on the yacht when Nixon and those guys were president during Watergate. I mean, Bill is the Navy guy, right? He's the 6'4" Navy guy. I'm not. All right? I mean, when I go talk to Bill, it's not like this, like I'm talking to you. Thank goodness you all are lower than me, that I can talk to you. I talk to Bill, I'm like, hey, Bill. Right? And I remember there was that one day that I wanted to ask him for his daughter's hand in marriage, and I've got it all set up. I mean, business is going good. We've been dating. I mean, we're ready to get married. We're ready to take our life to the next level. And we had a home in Kentucky, and I had this new Jeep. I love Jeeps, and it was bright yellow, and I got it, wanted to show it off to Bill, and I'm like, man, look, we're having success. I'm setting him up, right? Bill, I'm being a little more successful, I know how to manage money a little bit. I'm making money. Tiff and I have been dating a while. And so I'm setting him up to really talk about the commitment that I want to make to his daughter. And I thought I'm going to have him go to a real nice restaurant, let him pick. So we're driving down the road. I made sure I was driving in case it didn't go good. If he tried to strangle me, he died too. I had it planned out. It was good. So we're driving down the road, and I'm like, Bill, you know what? Why don't we go grab a great... So I got to stand, y'all. Bill, let's go have a great lunch. Where do you want to go? Anywhere you want to go. I'm fine. I'm treating today. And I saw his brain turn, and I'm like, all right, it's going the way I want. And he goes, you know what? I could really use a cup of chili from Wendy's. So I'm going to ask for Tiffany's hand in marriage in Wendy's over a cup of chili. So I'm like, all right, I've already set it up. We're going. I mean, I saved some money probably anyway. So we'll be good. So we get to Wendy's, we walk in, I'm laying it on thick, about how I'm committed and we're doing this. And all of a sudden, about 5 or 6 ladies from our church walk in. And I'm going, I am not doing this in Wendy's when the church ladies are here, because the whole town will know about it in 2 minutes. Y'all know how church ladies are sometimes. It's crazy. And I remember, so I didn't do it right then, and we got back in the car, and we started driving, and all of a sudden, like it was meant to be, Bill said, you know what? Tiffany and her mom are down on this end of the town. They texted me and said they were shopping. Why don't we go, see Tiffany? And I said, speaking of Tiffany, what would you think if I asked her to marry me? Utter silence. Seriously. And the next thing, he grabbed the recliner and leaned all the way back. Didn't say a word. All the way we're driving, all I'm thinking is, I'm not only going to lose the girl I love, I just killed my chances of being successful in this business. Because now we're going to be competing and we're not going to like each other, we're not going to get along, it's going to be chaotic. And he doesn't say a word, and we get to the parking lot, and and I slowly open the door, and I'm waiting for him to go, hold on, nothing happens. And I get out, and I start walking, and I see Tiff up there, because I tipped Tiffany off that I was going to ask, so she's, what's going on? She's thinking everything's good, and so I'm walking, and all of a sudden I feel this hand on my shoulder. Turns me around. And as he's turning me around, all I heard was, son. And if y'all are from the South, when you're not yet in the family and a big guy calls you son, it's not a good thing. And he turned me around, and he said, I have one question for you. Of course, I look up and say, yes, Bill. And he said, if you can tell me in one word what marriage means to you, I will bless your marriage to my daughter. And I'm going, huh? One word? You want me to sum up all the love and laughter and and it hit me. I went, it's not about just all that. We can figure out the stuff. We knew there was going to be chaos in our life. And I looked up at him and I said, Bill, marriage to me means commitment. And he stuck his hand down to me and he said, welcome to the family, with a big grin, right? And I was sweating.
And he's loved him ever since.
Yeah, he loved me ever since. He really was just messing with me, but I didn't know that at the time. It was crazy. But you think about this. In relationships, we're talking a lot about relationships, but think about your relationships with your kids, your relationships with your team, your relationships with other people. Think about your commitment to them, what you've got to do. You don't want your business to impact your relationships negatively. But you also don't want your relationships to impact your business negatively. And if you make that commitment, what you can do now is you can have communication. You've got to have communication, guys. Communication, let me let you in on something. It's a two-way street. Yeah. It's not you just talking to somebody. It's you having a conversation. It's communication. So I want you to think about this. Why do a lot of marriages and businesses and relationships and kids and all these things, why do they fail? I think two big reasons. It's number one, they didn't make commitments. Number two, they didn't communicate. You've got to communicate. Now, we all communicate different ways. Would you all agree?